Hey everyone, and welcome back to the news. Honestly, today it's a pretty damn big one because the SEC are now investigating Activision Blizzard. Bobby Kotick has been subpoenaed, and their chief legal officer has left the company. So, that's quite a lot to start the day off with. To run into what's actually happened then, so the Securities and Exchange Commission, now they are the big important group, especially when it comes to any publicly traded company, right? This is super serious. They have now opened their own investigation into Activision Blizzard's response to the ongoing sexual harassment and misconduct allegations. And according to the reporting from the Wall Street Journal, the SEC have, well, requested a lot of stuff from Activision Blizzard as a part of this look into what's been going on. So they actually want Bobby Kotick's communications with management and other high-level executives during the allegations. So as an example, what emails did Bobby Kotick send to J. Allen Brack when this was going down? Well, the SEC wants those. Separation agreements with employees who left Activision Blizzard this year. Personnel files for 6 specific former employees. So let's hope those didn't find the digital shredder. 2 years of board meeting minutes. It's got to be a lot of minutes. They're also reporting, the Wall Street Journal that is, that the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission have also been running their own investigation of gender-based harassment, misconduct, and discrimination since at least May of last year. Which is quite funny. Given, Blizzard going on to BlizzCon, J. Allen Brack wearing his pride pin and all of that stuff, and then you see what they're actually being accused of internally, it does make you think, how serious was all of that? Because even if people at the company did believe in all of that, at the end of the day, what matters for employees is what's actually friggin' done. To continue then, the federal agency are reportedly in settlement talks with Activision Blizzard, with millions of dollars being on the table. Of course, millions of dollars is not going to be the biggest amount of money for Activision Blizzard, but it's obviously going to be bad if they end up having to pay a fine there. The SEC also are going to be investigating whether Activision Blizzard had an obligation to inform investors about the allegations before the California Department of Fair Housing and Employment made all of that stuff public in July. Now that's going to be interesting. Some investors obviously do think so because a number of investor lawsuits have been launched against Activision Blizzard all about false and misleading statements and failing to disclose pertinent information, because I think, yes, you would want to know if this stuff is going on, and they were not really coughing up the information. Now, the SEC have also reportedly subpoenaed a number of current and former staff, but Activision Blizzard are seemingly happy to cooperate there. Of course, if they weren't happy to cooperate, it would be a pretty damn bad look, so I would find it hard. I find it hard to see them not doing that. Now, they have actually had a representative say this: "We've made and are making a number of important changes to improve our policies and procedures to ensure there is no place anywhere in our company for discrimination, harassment, or unequal treatment of any kind." And of course, we've heard this sort of thing again and again from them, but a lot of employees are still obviously pissed at the forced arbitration agreements. There is a lot of the murmurings internally about, potential reprisals against the employees who are actually speaking up on this shit. So that's all quite bad. There is the labor board suits that, of course, a better ABK are tied up in as well. So it just keeps on going. It keeps on going. That's basically the message. Now, in this instance, though, we would say it's worth remembering that the Department of Fair Housing and Employment recently expanded their lawsuit to include temp workers, and they also accused Activision Blizzard of, shredding evidence. So there's that. There's that. And it really is worth just doubling down to everybody. Like, once you include temp workers, bam, that's so many more people. I think a lot don't understand, like, just how many temps, how many bodies are thrown into the machine.
Yeah, I mean, it is an insane amount of people that are on contracts. I mean, that's been a large ongoing problem in the games industry where, if you need something done because you're on a game that requires 200, 300 bodies to make, you're not going to hire them all because you only need them for the biggest part of production. You don't need them after, you don't need them before. So you have temp workers, but they're significantly less protected legally. So you can do, to be quite frank, worse things with them. You can do shadier things with them. And that's what I think is it's interesting to see this kind of going from the SEC being involved, because I think that's the big stuff. They're the people who can hit you with fines of hundreds of millions. They're very much on the investors' side, which means, you know, if they can see any of Blizzard's or any of Activision Blizzard's treatment of employees impacting investors without them, you know, being able to have their say or know about it, then the SEC can come down hard. And if the DFEH expands it to include temporary workers, if the entire legal system is kind of looking at how they treat workers and not just the investor side of things, if the DFEH and the SEC in any capacity joined hands and started to look at the long-term effects, you could see quite severe impact here.
Yeah,
at least I think so.
It's interesting. I suppose the SEC getting involved, they're a public company.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to wonder if Riot Games was a public company, if things could have been different whenever they had their case. But certainly, if you are Bobby and a bunch of investors who, you know, literally Bobby's job is to steer the company in a way that will provide maximum shareholder return.
Mm-hmm.
And then the SEC subpoenas him personally and is investigating the company. I mean, that is a complete loss. I mean, okay, the complete loss is them being found guilty of stuff, but even this going on, this is smoke. That's going to rattle investor confidence.
Yep.
So it's pretty damn hardcore. Now, there is another thing that's happened, and that is Claire Hart. So Claire Hart is Blizzard's chief legal officer, and she confirmed her departure on LinkedIn earlier this week. Looks like she left the company last Friday. She spent 3 years with Blizzard, according to LinkedIn, anyway, and she had experience across Activision Blizzard and their Asia Pacific and China subsidiary. She apparently will be taking a break as a part of her as yet unannounced new role, so it's kind of unclear what's really going on. But I mean, given that there's a bunch of legal stuff going on, it's probably worth letting people know. Now, that said, this could have been a planned departure for months before this happened, so do keep that in mind. She did have a farewell statement saying that in the past 3 years have been full of unexpected twists and turns.
That's one way of putting it.
Well, you know, for her sake, I hope they were unexpected. I think for a lot of people at Blizzard, people we've talked to, none of this shit was unexpected whatsoever. So, you know, I'm going to call a little bit of the unexpected bit into question there. But there you go. She says she feels honored to have worked with so many great people, you know, all the shit people say whenever they leave. Or, you know, have some sort of change. So it seems to be an amicable split. It's just the sort of thing that law person going at same time as many lawsuits. Big think. I don't really know how much there is to read into that, to be honest.
I mean, for my personal opinion, I'm just thinking, well, okay, legal officer, lawsuits. A legal officer generally probably doesn't have to deal with anything this bad a lot of the time. So you're going to have a much comfier job if you just go somewhere else that isn't embroiled in all this stuff. Yeah. It's the kind of thing where this is just too much work, I'm out. Obviously that's likely not true, but that's the kind of thought I wouldn't want to be involved in any of this at any level, never mind be the chief legal officer. And it must really hurt the rest of the executive suite to have her go at this point in time. It's really frustrating. The
next thing then is that, of course, Blizzard Entertainment is still a games company. They still have to release games. And we're gearing up. There's Hearthstone content coming that is in itself rather dramatic, let's just say. We've got World of Warcraft, patch 9.1.5 being on the PTR. We've also got Diablo 2 Resurrected.
Which is out in 2 days, I believe.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are wondering, well, what the hell is going to happen to D2R in a world where Blizzard is going through all this shit? And what's interesting there is that it's kind of, I don't want to say it's got nothing to do with Diablo 2 Resurrected, but this is a game made by Vicarious Visions, who are based in New York, who until very recently were not a part of Blizzard Entertainment. Yeah. And at least for them, now every company has issues. Yeah. Even Andrew Wilson saying that, they of course have issues because they've got 10,000 employees and that's just how it is. Difference is they actually, fair play to EA, it seems like they actually deal with problems, at least in this nature, decently. I know Andrew Wilson has talked about people being dismissed for falling foul of this sort of thing. So there were issues across studios, like that whole thing of, you know, oh, the lads are going to play some Call of Duty, so hey there, women, go do our job. We're going to play some COD at work. Like, that was something that happened in Treyarch. I think that was reported in some places. The suicide was also within Activision Publishing, I believe. And Vicarious Visions would count as Activision Publishing, but we haven't really heard anything specifically be tied to Vicarious Visions. And at the very least, Vicarious Visions, it was led by Jen O'Neill. She generally seems to have had a pretty excellent, rap through all of this. So really, it seems like they're probably not having any problems that are beyond what you would normally expect in an organization, as opposed to like a more deep thing. I mean, hopefully we don't find out that isn't the case. But that's the interesting thing. This is a Blizzard product, but it's not really being made by Blizzard, which unfortunately might be some of why it's probably going to be quite good. Not to throw too much shade in Blizzard, but they sure have had issues lately, and Diablo 2 Resurrected has got excellent reviews, like in its previews and stuff. Like I watched, I think, Skill Up's video on it. It all seems to be great. And what is interesting is just this being a game release in the post-lawsuit climate, which led to really, look, so this interview with Axios, there's just a lot of them saying like, yeah, this stuff weighs on us. We're very aware of it. Obviously it happened over at Blizzard. But the main thing is that the creators of Diablo 2 Resurrected say people should, quote, do what they feel is right when considering whether to buy next week's big release.
I think that's... I think it shows how serious that the situation is that they're kind of allowed to say that. Because that's like, you imagine that coming from like a Call of Duty dev going, if you don't like our company, don't buy the game. That I feel like that would never get through any sort of PR.
Yeah.
But because Vicarious have this position of being kind of outside looking in, they're like, hey, we're gonna be the good guys in this situation. We don't want you to buy the game if you don't want to give our parent company money. But and then they talk about how they've like went through and they've reflected on everything. They've reached out to employees to sort of gather feedback based on it, and also they've already originally done the stuff for like scrubbing through for problematic content and all that like kind of thing. So they are kind of coming in going, we're relatively bulletproof here, but it's at the end of the day, it's entirely up to you, which I think is very mature of them coming from what you'd expect.
We know what's going on out there. You know what's going on out there. If we said anything else, it would be a loss. I think there's that aspect as well. So, yeah, good on them for being realistic in an interview, absolutely. And I suppose you are just left wondering, how will all of this impact the sales side? I wonder, will this suffer because this stuff's going on? A large part of me thinks yes. I then think, did Riot sell less skins when all of their stuff came out? I don't really know. We're probably not liable to know either, because it's not like they're just going to share digital numbers with us if they're not particularly strong.
Yeah, especially not against their projections. But I imagine that there will be an impact. It'll just be so small we won't really notice it. I think that's what I think the general ratio of people taking moral stances in the games industry has turned out to be, generally speaking. Probably. Because so many more people are, and in full, like, well within their rights, are a little bit more detached from industry going ons and are just trying to enjoy what time they have on the planet, like, which is,
Yeah, and some of that's just going to come down to, like, I mean, it's like, let's just say you're a McCree main, and it transpires that the real Jesse McCree did all of these crazy things, horrible things. Maybe that's the case, maybe it's not. We literally don't know, other than McCree's gone. You could understand that making somebody feel a bit iffy about buying a skin for that character, or something like that. I guess for this, it's like, it's a remaster of a game by a studio that hasn't really been super implicated in anything. Yeah. Sure, some money's going to go to not the best company in the world, but it's a dev team that's pretty solid. It's a game that's very solid. For a lot of people, that's going to be more okay than something that's a bit more directly implicated, and it's just that kind of thing. I mean, are you going to forego buying anything made in China, or, any product that is tied to a big company. Like, I mean, take a read on what Nestle are known for.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, look, if I see the Nestle logo, I'll generally be like, well, I'll take something else. But it's not the most rock solid thing in the universe, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, there's a whole discussion there about, like, the whole ethical consumption discussion, I suppose. But it's just that thing at the end of the day. Well, like, it's your money. What will this thing mean to you? Can you enjoy the product without supporting the bad things of the parent company? And while, sort of being activisty against the company. I suppose if this was all super being brushed under the rug, you could have just be issues with that. But I think at least you can say that all of the appropriate limbs of the government that people pay their tax money to fund, those are actually doing their job and in a way are doing the investigation for the people, as is the purpose of those organizations. So perhaps for some people, they're like, okay, well, the appropriate authorities have got their hands on it, so I'm just going to truck on and good on the people doing the research, into these investigations, perhaps. So interesting perspectives there on where people lie. So let us know where you lie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's mostly it for today, though.
Absolutely is.
And we'll see. We'll see if the SEC come to a ruling. It will be bloody interesting if they do. And I suppose it'll be a sweaty few weeks for Bobby now that he's being subpoenaed.
Almost certainly.
Aye. So that's it for us. Have a great day, everyone. I know that sometimes we bring little bits of darkness into your world, but I hope that does not detract from it being relatively bright. See you later.